Sneako's Pokimane take.
There is a really weird thing that was pointed out to me a long time ago. I don't know why this is the case or what is going on. I don't think it's like a consciously like hateful thing, but when I noticed it, it was very, very, very irritating. And there's this phenomenon where like, no, that's the service level take. Shut the fuck up. You don't need tits in any video game. You have them there for one reason and one reason alone, and that's entertainment. It's the only reason they're there is because you like looking at boobs. And for you to pretend that it's anything different makes you the fucking delusional one, okay? Fans of women content creators, if they were to act in ways that fans of male content creators act, they would get called simps, even if they do the exact same thing. But like I hear screaming out of her is like turf, 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 turf. Like it's all the most bog standard turf talking points I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, she harps on the HEP shit a ton. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? This is so fucking weird.
Okay, Sneako's Pokimane take. Okay, so yeah, I just saw this last night. I don't remember which video it was on, but essentially the take where he's like, I guess you could just say like simp hating, or he wasn't even hating the simps, he was hating Pokimane.
Which one? What? I've heard so many takes from Sneako and Pokimane and everything recently. Which one was this? Remind me. Refresh my memory.
So he was like, they all love her, but she doesn't love you. She's just sitting there and she's just making money off you. And I can't remember what else he said, but basically,
okay,
just, like,
basically with her having to do like her being fake, basically, right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess you could say that because like although she's literally just sitting there playing her game, making like jokes or whatever the fuck she does.
Sure.
I don't actually like know a ton of her content or anything, but so I find it an interesting, I guess, juxtaposition or maybe hypocritical statement, because Sneako's like out here like peddling conspiracy theories. And it's like, bro, how are you making your money? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying he doesn't do good content ever, and he doesn't talk about some good things that need attention drawn to them. But it just seems like it's kind of a strange take to have about somebody's content when you're literally saying like the queen eats babies or ate babies, whatever. And then also there's the larger conversation, which is him and whether he's like red pill or whatever he wants to call himself, where they think women should be feminine and girly and cute and fit into this box, but then when they use that feminine, girly, cute thing as their like career or like as to their own advantage or whatever, then it's like seen as this like super hateful, succubus type thing. So
there is a really weird thing that was pointed out to me a long time ago. I don't know why this is the case or what is going on. I don't think it's like a consciously like hateful thing, but when I noticed it, it was very, very, very irritating. And there's this phenomenon where like porn will be okay, video game porn will be okay. Like if I were to go and watch somebody play a video game and there's a porn scene in the video game, that's fine. But like if a woman were to cosplay a pornographic character from the video game and stream that, all of a sudden there's a problem with that. I don't understand why. There's like a lot of weird views of like sex and sexuality and where they can appear and when it's acceptable and when it's like, and when people like freak the fuck out about it, that I don't fully understand. Because some people get really, really, really mad at like booby girls and stuff, which I actually think is super fucking fine. If you want to hate booby girls and shit, I think that's your God-given right to do so. But it's really weird to masturbate to porn, to go crazy over booby girls when they show up in almost any other area. But then when you meet a booby girl, then you get really fucking mad. I don't understand that. If you're like a Christian conservative and you don't like porn and all of that 100% of the time, then fine, go for it, hate away. But if you're somebody that like jerks off and loves like porn and all that shit all the time, but then when there's like a girl doing that type of content somewhere, you get really ass mad about it, I super don't get that. That's very fucking weird to me.
It's a very weird disconnect.
Yeah.
I don't know why it exists. It kind of relates a little bit to when we talked about last time, because you were saying you don't think the content on Twitch should be like, porny or whatever at all because of the kids being there. And I said what I said, which was like my first example was like rap videos, kids often see those and whatever. But then after we were done, like a couple days later or something, I thought, to myself, like, wait a sec, like so many video games are marketed to kids and all female characters have their asses and tits out and they're wearing like skin tight like latex outfits.
Yeah, but it's like
And it's like,
awesome for some reason. Yeah, I don't
yeah, what
understand
is
why.
that? Not only is it fine, it's the norm. It's like that's what they look like, whether it's a movie, video game, that's literally what they look like at all times. You never see them like wearing a big ass hoodie, or if you do, it's like very, very rare, right?
Yeah.
And you never see like
Wait, hold on.
older women.
Sorry.
Well,
Okay, hold on. Someone in YouTube chat says, repeating status quo talking points, no depth. No, the lack of depth is when you respond with some stupid shit like, oh, well, actually, it all depends on the context. Newsflash, if you've ever played a video game in your entire fucking life that has tits in it, it didn't need those tits for the game to work. There is not a single sex scene in any of the Witcher games that needed to be there for that plot to work that way. You are fucking brain dead. You have the surface level dipshit take. If you honest to God were playing The Witcher 3 and you're like, that game was pretty good, but what really sent it over the edge was that scene where I could fuck Triss and see the fucking boobs come out, or the fucking white witch lady, or the whatever the black-haired bitch was who was inferior to Triss in every way. No, that's the surface level take. Shut the fuck up. You don't need tits in any video game. You have them there for one reason and one reason alone, and that's entertainment. It's the only reason they're there is because you like looking at boobs. And for you to pretend that it's anything different makes you the fucking delusional one, okay? All right.
look who's no depth now, bitch.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Okay. Yeah. Skin tight outfits. Oh, and they're never older girls, right? You sometimes have older dudes, right? In video games, like old wizard guys or old like tough dudes with guns. When do you have like a hot, or like doesn't even have to be a hot old lady? It could be like a grizzled old fucking weird lady. I don't know. Like it's very fucking rare.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
like, that also just goes along with like the dating norms, is that like men are considered attractive up through their 60s, almost 70s now. And
Yeah.
yeah, although I will say that like women have been pushing more and more for better representation media. It's a lot better today than what it was even 10 or 15 years ago. It's gotten a lot better, I think, where you're
absolutely.
seeing more like older women. I say older women, but I mean like women in their 30s and 40s.
Women with like a single line on their face. It's
Sure,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God. Yeah. And obviously women of color too. And variety of, representations. Okay, so there was sort of like a secondary part to this Sneako Pokimane thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
Blah, blah,
Oh, you also get like
blah.
really weird on that thing too. And not to single out Sneako because there's a lot of because a lot of people have these takes. Fans of women content creators, if they were to act in ways that fans of male content creators act, they would get called simps, even if they do the exact same thing. Like, I have a fan base. I have arguably one of the most dedicated fan bases, I think, on the internet. I think I have like the most active creator subreddit on the internet, even for people that have more fans than me. If I was a girl, all of my fans would be called simps, but instead they're just called like terrorists or internet harassers or whatever. But if I was a girl and you saw my fans in like LSF arguing shit, they would all be called simp losers that are only there for my pussy. And I even noticed, actually, I even grow my own fan base, because my own fan base is like 95% men, so naturally we've got a ton of fucking incels. If I have a conversation with somebody that my fan base finds annoying for a long period of time, they're like, oh, I hate this guy, Sneako never learns. Like, they're all very critical of the things that he says and the things that he does. Anytime I get like posts about Sneako that are negative on my sub, it's all because of the things that he says and what he does. But when it's about like fucking Lav, or when it's about like any of these other girls that people don't like, it's just because like, oh, Destiny's simping, or it's because he's after pussy, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, if I treat a guy the same way that I treat a girl, you ascribe like completely and totally different intentions depending on who the person is. There's a lot of like really fucking annoying like double standards there when it comes to how people evaluate each other's behavior, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird because like obviously if the people involved, like say it's you and Lav, for example, if it is two like bi slash like people that could be attracted to each other, right? Like hetero or bi or whatever. Then it's like, okay, we know that there's the potential there for attraction, there's the potential for flirting, whatever. But to assume that it's like all based on that, it just kind of like discredits or like attempts to discredit the entire conversation. So I don't know. I think it's dumb.
I don't know. But, yeah.
Okay, so I go into the thing of Avid Preach here for some reason. Oh yeah, okay. Basically, let me just do the Avid Preach thing real quick.
Go.
So Avid Preach, or what was it? Is that video which was like those women who were were they all in their 20s? I feel like I remember
Oh, it
seeing
was
something
it's the
about,
video where they were like talking about like dating preferences and stuff or something.
yeah, like who, what kind of men, and they all like
Hmm.
want like guys with really high incomes or whatever.
So
Um,
I think some of those women must have just been like I know that everyone in chat thinks it's just like crazy fucking women, blah, blah, but I think some of those women were young and hadn't worked before. That's the only thing I can think of, because there's no way that anybody that had ever worked before would have been like, I want a guy with like an okay income. I'd say like 400K a year. There's no way that somebody that's worked a job before it would ever
yeah,
say something like that. I don't believe it. Like, I don't think it's
you have
because they
no
were,
idea.
yeah, it wasn't because they were insanely fucking stupid women. It was because they were just people that hadn't worked, I think was the thing. Yeah. But
Or just like have no experience with people in the workplace, like and what like career trajectories look
yeah.
like.
And I also think it's important to know, and I said this too, it's important to know what the status of these people are as well when they're making like certain demands. So like a girl saying something like, I want a guy that like is doing okay, that's like making six figures. That sounds like really privileged and entitled, but it's like, well, where are you pulling these girls from? Because if these, like if you're pulling like 5 girls from like Columbia Law or some shit, or like, you know, if they're going to like some UC school and they're in fucking like decent programs, like, yeah, these guys are, these girls are like top like 5% earning women probably, who are going to be looking for like top 1 to 5% earning men. Like that, it makes more sense. As opposed to if you're pulling them out of like a state school in Iowa and they're saying stuff like that, well, now it's a little bit more ridiculous, but it's kind of important to know the background. And it's an online internet show, so my guess is a lot of these girls are being pulled from like fucking LA or places like that. So it makes more sense depending on where the geography is, but yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Um, right. Okay, and then so at the end of that video,
Mhm.
I think it was Ava who was like, um, said something like, times have changed. Women are out studying and out earning men. It's scary, or something to that effect.
Mhm.
And then like hearing that, I was just like that is not that recent, right? So then I looked it up, which is like what I've got here on my little document,
Mhm.
and it says, so I grabbed a paragraph from this one website, which says by the early 1990s, the labor force participation rate of prime working age women, those between the ages of 25 and 54, reached just over 74% compared with roughly 93% for prime working age men. The share of women going into traditional fields of teaching, nursing, social work, and clerical work declined, and more women were becoming doctors, lawyers, managers, and professors. As women increased their education and joined industries and occupations formerly dominated by men, the gap in earnings between women and men began to close significantly. So that's like already the early 1990s, which is like 30 years ago, right?
True, but
So
that's a trend that
isn't
like started then, but it's been continuing and going further and further and further, I think, right?
Yeah, I just think it's a bit odd for, I can't imagine Abba's that much older than like mid 30s. So it's like his whole life, this started at basically when he was 0, and he's still trying to like catch up. I don't know.
Well, I
Seems
think the
weird.
issue is that we have pretty conservative dating standards still in terms of how we relate to each other, but we have a highly progressive society when it comes to income structure. This is what I was thinking of. There was like a perfect video that encapsulated this. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the biggest feminists in the world are oftentimes conservative women that are doing careers like in entertainment, like in like pundits or whatever. So like Tommy Lauren Southern, right? These people will talk about like traditional values, blah, blah, but it's like, you guys are hardcore feminists. You're strong, independent. You have your own careers. You're famous. You don't need no man, et cetera, et cetera. Like you guys are like doing the feminist dream, whether you like it or not. You really are.
Yeah.
There was a video that Tommy Lauren put out that was really interesting, and basically, she was screaming like, I don't want none of these lazy fucking mans. All these fuck boys, these guys have no jobs. They're fucking losers. They haven't moved out yet. They don't have houses, blah, blah, blah. And she's like ranting on her, some social media, TikTok, or maybe it was fucking Vine. I don't know. This is several years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's ranting. And the only thing that I was thinking was like, on one end, I'm like, yeah, sure, I agree. Go off, queen. But then on the other hand, hold on. On the other hand, something that I thought up was, it's interesting that women have stepped into traditionally masculine positions when it comes to the workplace, as in they're pursuing careers and they're earning a lot of money, but men aren't allowed to step into traditionally feminine roles like taking care of the house. Like if you went into the world as a man and you were like, I want to be somebody that just kind of like takes care of the house, maybe takes care of the kids, you're a fucking loser to like 90% of women. Like you're going to be a fucking loser. Even if it's like
So women.
yes. Even if
Okay,
you're like
interesting.
yeah, even to like feminist women, most of them are going to look at you and it's like, you're kind of a fucking loser. Okay. But women used to do just that. And that was like the epitome. That's what you wanted. I want a really young, hot, housewife, they can have a kid or two and take care of the house. And that was like the apex of what a woman could be. So women have stepped in traditionally masculine roles, which I think is great. I love that. I think that's fine. But men aren't allowed to step into traditionally feminine roles, which I don't know if I would want them to, but the dating standards for women have been a lot slower to adjust than their workplace status. So while women are earning more and more and more, they're still also looking for men that are earning equal or out earning them, which is getting more difficult when, like, if you go to colleges, it's like 60-40 now between women and men. And every time we have like a new fucking like pandemic or a new recession or whatever, the people that end up having to stay home and take care of the bills and shit are usually men. So they fall even further behind and shit. So yeah, that's basically, it's like queens are out there looking for their kings, but like, now the queens are becoming kings and they're looking for like mega super kings and like the ex kings are like now like paupers and shit or knights because they can't even fucking work as much anymore. Cause so that's just like, I'm not saying that anybody's to blame there. It's just like complicating like dating standards that are hard for people to kind of catch up to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It kind of actually relates to like a point that I had a little later on, which is the whole concept of like the red pill people who think that society or the left has been feminizing men because they think it's, and maybe it's not the exact same thing that you're talking about here, but I'm curious to hear what you think about like who is feminizing men and how are they, and is it just because like we're basically letting like we're letting guys know it's okay to cry, or is there something else going on that I don't know about?
I think progressives are absolutely feminizing men too much. I think that yes. I think that there are aspects of masculinity that are absolutely fucking toxic. And I think it's really good that we've called those out and we've gotten rid of those standards. But I think there were aspects of masculinity that are incredibly positive, and it feels like we're really kind of scared to show those role models now, or we don't talk about it as much as we used to, or at least people on the left don't. And that's why if you're looking for like positive role models for masculinity, you've got like fucking Kermit the Frog who almost OD'd on fucking benzos, Jordan Peterson, or you've got Ben Shapiro, or I guess like the red pill community. Like nobody in the left really wants to be a voice for young men, right? It's basically just a bunch of people saying like, oh, you're a man? Well, let me help you here. I'm going to tell you the 15 ways not to rape a woman and to make sure that you're giving space to like intersectional women of color who are trans. It's like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, why are there no more just male role models on the left? Like, why does it, you have to look to the right for it? Yeah. And I feel like they've mishandled a lot, like the idea of like, what does it mean to like be emotional as a guy or show emotion? It's strange because like in pop media before, I feel like there were really good examples of it in like Disney movies and shit, right? I feel like I've heard in like 15 different Disney movies, like it's not about not being afraid, son. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared or whatever. Like shit like that. Like you hear these, and that's like an example of like positive masculinity. But it feels like we've scaled back a lot of that on the left of having any representation for men, and now everything is like girl power, girl power, girl power, which is fine, which is great. I think that's awesome. But it feels like people are really, really scared to address like this growing uneasy trend of men that either feel like they're getting left behind because they are, or they feel like they're getting left behind because there aren't very many new role models, and all the other people are like getting all these new role models and everything, and it just kind of feels like weird to get left out, you know?
Okay, so I hear what you're saying there. I don't think you're wrong per se, but like how is a lack of representation meaning that you're feminizing them? Wouldn't feminizing them be like that they should like start doing more feminine-y things?
I shouldn't say feminizing, I guess, because that's actually got a really negative connotation to it. I should just say like making them weak and worthless.
Oh.
It feels like I'm generalizing so much from my perception of reality right now, so I could be wrong. This is just like perceptions that I have. Here's like one thing that I think has happened, and this probably applies to men and women. Children today seem to have very little tenacity. I feel like we stress is not always bad. You just have to have the tools to deal with it. And rather than empowering people to deal with stressful situations, it seems like our goal in life has been to remove all stress from a person's life, which is not good. And the way that I see people acting on social media, especially Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and the way that I see kids acting in schools, dude, I just saw, I don't know if it was a fucking troll or not, but I just saw a trigger warning on a thread on Twitter earlier where some girl was like, trigger warning. And then people were like, she was like, trigger warning, and this girl's really hot. And people were like, why the fuck did you put a trigger warning on that? And she's like, well,
wait, the trigger warning was that the fact that she was hot?
No, the fact that she was Chinese.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she said I put a trigger warning on because this person is Chinese. And her excuse was, can I explain the trigger warning to everyone, please? Some people with OCD and autism can be triggered by certain races, so that's why I added the trigger warning. I'm personally not bothered by Asian people, but some of my followers might be. Sorry if you might be offended. But just like, and I see stuff like this.
What was the thread about? What was the thread about?
It was initially just her retweeting somebody saying like, oh, you look like really hot. You're so gorgeous, but it was like trigger warning, East Asian, maybe Chinese.
That just sounds racist.
I know, but like, it's just... And I'm not saying that that's necessarily representative, but like you see so much of this like weird shit pop up like over and over and over again, and then like all these videos from like all these different college campuses with these professors getting kicked off, hearing about like this crazy like progressive orthodoxy of like you have to believe this thing or else you're gonna get excised from campus, or I'm kind of veering off or whatever, but like it to pull it back, it feels like we have a very difficult time giving stress to children and having them learn how to deal with it, and we're removing their ability to deal with any stress in the real world. It's like a very scary thing. Yeah, I think.
So I think I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think what you're kind of like building here is you're saying rather than like guys being feminized per se, we're like removing things from them, potential parts of their character, and then we're also doing that to kids as we're raising them.
Yeah, I shouldn't say feminized.
Like we're allowing them to be more weak or whatever.
Yeah, weaker. Yeah, less able to deal with like conflict, basically.
Yeah, less competent, and also maybe not relying on their natural instincts as much.
I don't know if I'd say natural instincts.
In terms of like guys, more so, like because you touched on the toxic masculinity thing. So do you think it's like maybe we're kind of like putting shame towards like what guys naturally?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Like, it's hard to balance it. It's hard. It's always hard for everybody to have balance. I wish people could have balance. But like in some cases, like you do want a really strong stoic figure to lead the way and to take charge and to figure out an issue and to be able to put like feelings and emotions and fear aside to like handle issues. But the problem is that the way that would play out in the past is guys would do that until they would go postal and murder their roommates and then go and shoot up a place because they've got PTSD and they can never talk to anybody, right? Which is obviously bad. But it feels like yeah, it feels like those like positive. I don't see those positive representations of male masculinity as much. Or I feel like people like demonize men so much. It's just kind of scary. But this is just my perception. Maybe it doesn't play out as much this way in the real world, and it's just what I see a lot on social media and in college.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I see it everywhere, does everybody see it everywhere? In which case, does the perception kind of make it true? Like, it's hard to say, but yeah.
No, I think you're right. Like there definitely is those online spheres, which then sort of trickle into real life, but they definitely like calcify online or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. And like I've definitely, I've been in various stages of feminism. Like when I was a young gamer teenager, I used to like hate anything that sounded kind of feminist because for various reasons that were like toxic to myself and women. But and then so I went the other way, and then I got more, and then until I saw a lot more stuff that was like, oh, all men are stupid. And actually at this feminist conference that I went to when I was 21, I believe, there was an older feminist there, and she was just like, we were just doing something very like chill at a table. I think we were like, maybe we had some like a clipboard with names on it that we were like checking off or something. Yeah. And every few moments she's like talking about like how useless men are, and men are just like, and so then I don't know. It's pretty weird, but like I think those people are the minority. I think they're just really loud online.
I would hope so, but like I could go onto Twitter right now and probably all night spam like fuck men, fuck white people, blah 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 blah. I could do that over and over and over again. But if I type one tweet where I'm like fuck black people, like my account might get permabanned. And that's like a pretty common like TOS experience in a lot of places, because I think that like progressives have kind of created this interesting combination of like forms of analysis to give them the ability to kind of like attack anybody they don't like. Like white people saying fuck black people is bad because white people belong to an oppressor class and black people are an oppressed class. And if white people make fun of black people, that's a form of punching down, which is bad. But if black people are attacking white people because they're systemically disadvantaged, them attacking white people is actually a form of empowerment because they're punching up on a class that has more power over them. And like using these like forms of putting together like our hierarchical way of viewing society, you end up creating these environments where it's like, oh cool, you can basically be infinitely racist towards white people or infinitely sexist towards men, and that's actually okay. You get a free pass for that. But if you do it the other way around, you get instantly fucking nuked, which is bad. Like one of the, I don't know if how much you read. Do you read Reddit a lot?
No, I don't.
Oh, fuck. One of the worst subreddits and most hateful subreddits I've ever seen in my entire life, probably worse than fat person hate or anything, is probably the subreddit 2X chromosomes. It's actually...
Oh yeah, I've seen some of that shit.
It's
But that's just like
horrible.
turf land, right?
No. That's not turf land. That's feminist land. It has nothing to do with turfs. Ironically enough, it's called 2X chromosomes, but they like fight for trans representation on the subreddit, which is kind of funny in its own way.
Okay.
But yeah, no, like that subreddit is unimaginably hateful. Holy shit. But because it's like shitting on men constantly, and like you'll just get posts where it's like, does anybody else just like fucking hate men? Does anybody else hate all fucking men? Anybody see men? And it's like, I remember one popular post that was like, it's not enough to say not all men. It is all men. Because even though not all men are rapists, all men support the men that are rapists by saying hashtag no. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, yeah, I don't know. That shit
Okay,
as well.
so what do you think? I feel like there's a thing going on here where it's like, I can kind of understand like some of these people, whether it be black people or feminists or whatever, when they're saying these extreme statements, it's almost like I can see them just needing like a space to vent.
Yes.
Like they need like
a safe space
to like, yeah, where they can yell stupid shit like I hate all men or whatever, or white people. And it's like, okay, that totally makes sense that you're feeling like that and that you're totally free to express yourself. But I feel like, yeah, it shouldn't be in the same place.
It shouldn't be like a publicly accessible place.
Yeah.
Like safe spaces are super valid and super cool. I super support them. I'm a huge supporter of safe spaces. Sometimes you want a place where you can just step in and fucking vent and not have to worry about being PC and not have to worry about offending somebody and not have to worry about somebody else's feeling. You just want to vent. That's totally fine and valid. But those can't be like publicly accessible spaces. That's why they're called safe spaces. They're like sectioned or quarantined off from society, and it's an area where just a certain group of people can complain about a certain group of other people.
Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna ever be a thing though, because as soon as you try to do that, they're gonna say that you're just like making them shut up or whatever, or move somewhere else. So
Yeah, probably true. Yeah.
all right. Well, okay. Okay, I kind of oh, I'm trying to see if this actually is what I think it is. Sneako is super opposed to feminism, and there are so many guys out there that share these triggered reactions. Okay, well, you're kind of explaining a little bit to me why people might be so triggered, and I feel like so, and we'll get into this a little bit more in a bit, but since joining the Zerka Royale podcast,
Yeah.
I have come into a space where there's this, it's a conservative Twitch space that I didn't expect or like didn't know existed. And so I wrote this kind of referring to that, which is there's this group of women. It's not like a group, but there are several women that are in this space. And they are, I don't know if they would say they're like anti-feminist, but like they're against abortion oftentimes, or they're, they want to like nurture men rather than be upset at things about men. What's this here? Oh, yeah. Okay, that was me asking about the emasculating men thing. Yeah, sorry, it's sort of stream of consciousness. What did I write here? What did you think they were referring to? Okay, we already touched that. All right. And that's all I got for that.
Well, wait, what did you? You didn't say anything. What the fuck was the?
I'm sorry, we kind of jumped around. So, and then I'm trying to read my notes that were done in like a very specific order. Okay. So we might as well just go into the Zerka thing because I don't think there's really going to be much more left to say on Sneako and Pokimane, right? Do you agree, or do you have anything?
No, I don't think I have much to say about him.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so that's been kind of interesting going into this little like conservative enclave, and I'm not even sure how small it is anymore because at first I was like, oh, it's just these people that are on this podcast.
I wouldn't. So this is something I kind of identified a long time ago, and it's kind of making a resurgence. I wouldn't call them conservatives. The way that I
No?
address them in the past is I would just call them like, I call it gamer bro politics, or maybe you can refer to it as anti-SJW politics. So like usually they won't be conservative, like they don't have like strong economic positions or support like Republicans or anything like that.
No, they
But
do support Republicans, or like they hate Joe Biden and they love Trump.
sure, but not because of like I don't like the social or economic policies of Joe Biden. It'll just be because
Well,
like
no,
Trump
they're
is
not nearly that intelligent.
yeah, it'll just be because like Trump is based and because he shits on like feminists and like weak losers, right?
Yeah,
It's very much
exactly.
like a cultural thing, not like policies of like the government or fiscal policies or foreign policies. None, it's no shit like that, right? They're just basically like whatever
Besides
like
the abortion thing, though, they're down with that policy, or like the
yeah,
the-
maybe the abortion thing that might come from like red pill shit now, where women have too much like sexual freedom, so we need to like curb that. Maybe is where that's coming from, but yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting because I kind of joined the group not knowing what it was. And then the person who linked me to the group, who connected me, I didn't make too many assumptions about her, but I watched her on this other Royale show. Do you know who Giga Datum is? I
Oh,
don't know.
wait, girl or guy?
No, this is a guy, Giga Datum.
I
He's like,
know.
okay,
Yes, I know who Giga is.
okay, and this is actually another thing is like now there's all these guys that are trying to be like alternates to like I don't know if they're trying to be like Zerka slash Andrew
Yeah.
Tate kind of guys. They've got massive muscles and they sit in there they like their camera is just like it's like a full muscle pic, right? Like it's like or like video really. And their whole shtick is like I'm gonna show you how to like get e-girls
Yeah.
and like how to be hot and how to be like a cool guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was his show and she was on and so I was just watching because I was like, this is, somewhat interesting and maybe I'll get on the show at some point. And there were some political questions and then, oh yeah, the question was like, what would you change in the world if you could change anything? And she was like, blah, blah, blah to the rest of the answer. And then she's like, and I would make abortion illegal. And I was like, damn, like, I didn't realize there was this, because like, would you still call that gamer bro if it's like a woman who's like straight up
It's
just anti-abortion?
well, like I think that the anti-abortion stuff isn't coming from a true defense of like old classic like family values. It's coming from this weird like red pill place where like women
But
given
then they also involve God a lot. They talk a lot about God.
yeah, and this is when my fan base is gonna rebel against me because my take on this is very nuanced, and then people just like re-out. A lot of these people invoke God a lot, but I don't think they genuinely are feeling the religion. Like they'll invoke God, but then they'll talk about how to fuck like 10 different women at once. Or they'll invoke God, but they're talking about like pickup artist shit. Like it is the lamest, and I fight with all these guys when they do this. It is the lamest invocation of religion I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. None of these guys know anything about the Bible. They don't know anything about Jesus. They only ever invoke Christianity to like try to like shit on women. Like they're unironically doing with religion what people used to accuse the old evangelicals,
Evangelists, I think.
I think it's evangelicals is what they're called. The evangelicals, and then like the old like neocon Christians, or even like the Tea Partier people, where people are like, oh, these guys just use religion because they hate women. No, that's not true. Even though they viewed women differently, they didn't hate women. They just viewed them differently because of their religion. But I think a lot of the current like red pill guys do actually use religion just because they hate women. Because when you start asking them anything about their religion, they have no fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about. They're totally fucking lost. Like, how are you gonna like say Jesus' name and traditional family values in one breath, and then in the next tell me how you want to have like one-sided open relationships where you're juggling 10 different women at once who are all 15 years younger than you? Like, it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So yeah, it is weird they invoke religion and they're anti-abortion, but I don't think it's like traditional conservatism. It's this like new wave of like red pill, kind of shit. It's just, yeah. But I
Yeah.
understand like it's confusing, and maybe in some ways there's a lot of crossover. But
It is confusing and like sometimes they don't specify whether it's Christian or not, like because I thought, oh, maybe there's some people that are like into Islam here,
yeah,
right?
some of them will invoke like Islam as well, but they equally
Yeah.
they know equally little about both fucking religions. Like
Yeah, I don't know, it's really strange. And then they believe like this one individual that I was talking to, you can't really tell. And if you ask them about God, they say it's like, oh, it's just God. Oh yeah, actually, one of these guys, he'll only have sex at marriage. So he's like a ball cell or whatever until he's married.
Volsa, yeah.
Yeah. And So yeah, he only wants to have an orgasm, basically for God's purpose of reproduction,
Okay.
which is
Based.
a little different. Um, but then this other guy that I was talking to, because yeah, if that's one of the things, if you masturbate, then you're losing your virility or whatever. That's one of those
Mm-hmm.
thought spirals. Then this other guy, he loves God and stuff, but he does want several women to have sex with, and he views the women as impure if they want to have sex with more than one person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they can only lust for him. They can't lust for anything other than him, but he can
Yeah.
lust for anyone. But
Yeah.
yeah, also loves God.
Because they have like a whole red pill way, like using kind of weird Evo psych shit to try to define why it's natural for men to want multiple women, but if a woman
Yeah.
wants more than one man, you failed your job as a man or some like really stupid shit.
Yeah, that's weird. Um, Yeah, it's been interesting. So I did meet Lavloon. I spoke to her on the Zerka podcast. And that was kind of an interesting environment because I had something I wanted to talk to her about,
Uh huh.
but we were in the little waiting room before you get dragged into the show,
Uh
so we
huh.
weren't like live on his channel at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking like, oh man, is this gonna be my only chance to talk to her? So, and I was in, when you're in the pool with those people, especially if you're a woman,
Mm-hmm.
people are just shitting on you left, right, and center. You like come in and they're like, just start shitting on you. Like the guys will shit on
Yeah.
like, me basically. Like I asked a question, and then this guy he's like, who asked that? And I was like, me. And he's like, you're not worthy of an answer. So I was like,
Jeez.
you're just in the vibe where it's like attack mode, right? It's like an
Mm-hmm.
attacking zone. So I decided to go for my question to Lavloon, I went for the thing that I wanted to talk to her about, which was like a criticism of her presentation about leaving sex work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she got kind of like defensive, which is fine. And then I wanted to talk to her about it later. Or like again, I wanted to ask her questions because I checked out her Insta and I was like, wow, she's like, she's obviously talented in like design or presenting aesthetics,
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to chat with her like about a few things to do with like holding yourself as a woman or like being confident and stuff. And I also wanted to smooth over the criticism I had of her leaving sex work video.
Uh-huh.
But she never responded to me. So now I'm
Damn.
just like, she doesn't want to talk to smaller creators.
Damn. What a
And
bitch.
so I know she is a bitch. And like basically it's like then as I watched that video last night, I'm like, dude, this whole conversation, you could have just like talked to like a handful of non-binary people in your local area.
Mm-hmm.
And it like you would have got the answers that you're looking for. So I don't know. I just feel like she's like just talking to people for clout, doesn't want to talk to smaller people. Um, she's obviously gorgeous and she's smart and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, what the
Wow.
fuck, man?
Bitch. The non-binary thing is really hard because like there's the online non-binaries are just they're just the worst. I feel so bad for even saying this, and I'm not actually fully sure if it was a troll or not. I actually can't tell. I actually had a trans person email me and thank me for the conversations I had because they didn't believe in non-binary people until they saw me have a conversation with one and talk about it because they'd had so many negative experiences with non-binary people online. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, I mean, it's a rough world out there. So yeah. And I didn't even really, I think I'm on record. I think I said even as recently as like a couple months ago, I was like, I don't think non-binary people are real. I super don't buy it. Now I do, but I didn't before because like, Jesus Christ, it's so hard, dude. The online environments there's a lot of crazy motherfuckers out there.
Yeah, you've now stated that you are no longer identifying as non-binary or you
Yeah,
changed that.
no, I never should have. And even the people that said that I should have, like, clearly nobody knows what any of these fucking things mean. My argument in the past was that I don't personally have, like, a super strong attachment to my gender. It's just not something I feel that strongly about. I don't really care. I think if I woke up as a woman, I don't think I would care. Maybe I would, obviously, I can't tell, but I don't think I would. It's just not, like, when I think of, like, my identifying characteristics, I don't think, like, I'm a man, that's important to me. Like, it's just not. But so a lot of the times, like my own audience and people would say like, oh yeah, that means you're non-binary, dude, for sure. But now when I look at like actual non-binary people who experience some level of dysphoria, if people are identifying them as genders and they don't want to be gendered, et cetera, it's like, okay, well, this is a different experience than just like not feeling strongly about your gender. Like by definition of being like trans, of which non-binary is, by definition, you must feel strongly about your gender because you're having strong feelings about it. So yeah, even the fact that so much of my audience and other audiences let me get away with identifying as non-binary for so long kind of shows that nobody has any fucking idea what any of it means, you know?
Yeah, or the people that do have more of an idea just are far more rare than we actually like.
That's
There's
another
much more loud AFAB people that are
Yeah.
like, I'm co-opting this. This is what something in the sex work community is like. There's tons of people, like for example, Twitter is where I did like 90% of my promotion, right? So I had tons of like people always in their pictures always in my face, and there would be people that were presenting very feminine, and calling themselves non-binary, and like at the time I was like, you don't need to present this or that way to call yourself, like, if this is how you feel about your gender, that's how you feel, right? And I even called myself non-binary for a while, but whenever someone would include me in the trans heading, I always felt a little bit weird about that because I
Yeah.
never felt like I was trans.
Yeah, same.
So I was like, yeah, it's like I feel like, maybe a little bit stronger than what you're describing. Like, it's not that just that I'm not attached to my gender. Like I do have some things where I feel like I'm kind of like in that middle area, but I don't feel like I'm trans. And then
And
when
then
I
you,
see
the
yeah,
AFABs, the
the
AFABs.
AFABs, and at first I wanted to, because and like I've talked about this for a really long
There,
time.
dude, these are
experiences.
trans terrorists. AFABs are trans terrorists online with what they do for the ideology. But it's also weird too, because I think AFABs are way more dominant in real life, whereas online it's almost exclusively AMABs, or AFAMs, assigned male at birth. AMABs. Right?
AMABs.
AMABs.
Wow, you just like never say it. So.
Yeah, we don't even say it because it's yeah. But like online, it feels like online is exclusively male to female, whereas in real life, the issues that I hear, and I didn't know this until I started soliciting emails from trans people, almost in real life, everybody's problems are with AFABs that you have. And for people that don't know, I'm sorry, AFAB is assigned female at birth, is you have these legions of, like, when people say that, like, oh my God, the amount of trans people has increased by 700%, and conservatives are trying to fearmonger that everybody's getting turned trans, the vast majority of these people are, not to be transphobic, but it's women that dye their hair blue, get a septum piercing, and then use they them pronouns and call themselves non-binary. And it's like, and these are like, and again, I didn't even know this was a thing, but when I was soliciting emails from my audience, I was like, hey, if you're trans, tell me your experience. I'm curious. Like, what do you guys go through? And email after email is like, I hate my trans support groups on my college campus because if I'm like trying to transition or if I'm looking for help, every fucking group I join is overwhelmingly dominated by non-binary women that use Zer or they them pronouns who are not making any effort to transition or anything. And then you get like these women that are like, oh yeah, I'm non-binary, with like huge cleavage, and they've got like breeding fucking kinks, and they're like very feminine in all of their presentations. Like, damn, what non-binary? What? Like, yeah.
Oh my God, we need more of you in the cleavage top with the V-neck.
Yeah, shut fuck off,
awesome.
Kelly. So, in a video game. But yeah, the frustration there is, yeah, I get a lot of trans people that are very upset about the AFABs because
Actually, so I ran a bunch of Twitter groups when I was on Twitter, like retweet groups, right? Part of why I got banned for platform manipulation. So sex workers say that they're like shadow banned, so you need to retweet their stuff because nobody's going to see it otherwise. And then trans people oftentimes will get very little engagement because like sometimes they're shouting into a void, and their clients just come across less frequently than cis women's clients, right? So I made these groups for trans people, and I put out like, everybody trans, come here, and oftentimes it would start with like a really great group of trans people, and then there would be a bunch of AFABs that would join, and so all of a sudden there's these like fucking, when I say hot, I mean like according to like societal norms, like like Becky type looking women, people you would call, like normally you'd say they're women or whatever, right? Like got big tits, the tiny waist, booty, like vagine, it's very woman looking. And so then the trans people, because obviously those were the non-binary people, right? They were they them, but they looked that way. And then the trans people then would slowly stop putting tweets in the group, and they would just kind of disappear over time, and nobody ever really said anything, but it was basically like, I get it, like these people are already owning like they're already making a shit ton of money, or they
Mm-hmm.
just, even if they just give you probably more dysphoria because you go to retweet their shit and they look like exactly like what you wish you looked like, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a nuanced issue. I don't really know how you tackle that one because yeah, like I don't
Well,
even know
the
how.
issue, in my opinion, is I don't know how this got started, but like gatekeeping is a really good thing. Like it's important that categories mean something. And somehow we got like people trick themselves into thinking that you should never gatekeep anything ever. But like it's kind of important to know what things are. Right? Like if I go to a car dealership and I want to buy a car and they start showing me like all trucks, it's like I want to see a car and it's like, why are you gatekeeping? Like, well,
Mhm.
I'm trying to describe what I'm looking for. The biggest detriment to the trans community has been the embracing of fucking self ID. It is the stupidest fucking way, and it is the most delegitimizing concept in the fucking world. You do not self ID as anything. You don't self ID as being depressed. You don't self ID as having GAD. Well, today you do online, but like you don't self ID as like being a thing. Just because you say you are something does not make you that thing. And as soon as self ID became this predominant concept, you basically lost the ability to ever call into question or criticize anything about a given person's identity. Like imagine if I were to go online and start posting, like going into forums and started to like fundraise for like I need help because like my ancestors were slaves, I'm African American, blah blah blah, and somebody's like, well, hold on, bro, you're very much not black, and I'm like, well, ID is black, so are you gonna like attack my identity? And it's like, oh well, fuck, now it's like now we're in like this weird world where we just have to take everybody at their word, and I think that's kind of what happened, and that's why you see like the non-binary shit pop up, and that's why I identify as a trans medicalist. I think that if you don't experience any dysphoria whatsoever, you shouldn't fucking call yourself trans. Go call yourself something else. But if you're just doing some shit because like you're happy when you do it and it makes you feel cool and you have gender euphoria, blah blah blah, that's fine and that's cool and you can dress how you want, do what you want. But like the experience that you're having is very clearly different than like a trans person who feels like a great level of dysphoria and discomfort and is like trying to transition or pass as something different than what they were born as. Yeah, I think that the lack of the ability to gatekeep any of the identities and being forced to take everybody at their word, I think has been an incredibly harmful change in like the online trans communities.
Yeah, and it kind of displays like a lack of consideration for the feelings of people who are actually oppressed
Hmm.
because you're just like, I'm gonna be part of this too, and then you make their lives that much more miserable.
Yeah.
So that's shitty.
Hmm.
Side note, did you ever follow the story of Rachel Dolezal?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit, but I don't know how much is true and how much isn't true. So I'm like,
Really?
yeah. Like this,
I,
because she said that she like was raised with like the full on like black experience and everything. Is it true or
I don't
I
think she was. No, there was like pictures of her all the way up until at least adolescence, if not young adulthood, where she was like all blonde and light skin and not. I don't when I say I don't mean like light skin black. I mean like
like
me,
me or you?
like
Okay,
white as fuck. Yeah.
gotcha.
Like she's Swedish, right? So she's like super white.
That's even funnier, but okay,
She's Swedish, yeah. And if
sure.
when the story came out, yeah, I read the whole thing about she placed like nooses in her yard and then said like people were like throwing nooses in her yard as some sort of racist hate
Oh,
crime.
geez. Okay, I don't know anything
It's a
about that, so
really big thing. And on top of all that, she was like the spokesperson for the
the
NCAAP
NAACP, yeah,
that thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's a doozy. You got to read that one.
yeah,
Uh, Damn. Yeah, I wish so I don't know. I wish the Lavalin thing would you know, co- materialize better, but it is what it is, I guess.
yeah. Well, she's going through her own experiences and growing as a human being.
Yeah, I know she's like 10 years younger than me, so
Don't ever
but
say that to. Damn, especially as a woman. If you said that to another woman, those are like fighting words.
that's fighting words?
Isn't it from one woman to another? If you ever tell a woman like, "Oh, honey, like you're just so young," I feel like that's like the claws are coming out. If I hear something like that,
Oh, I didn't mean it in that way. I mean, I guess you could take it that way. Like I was more fighting her fighting words when I said like she should talk to an actual non-binary person and she should talk to smaller creators.
sure, okay,
Um, no, I guess we're like I don't know. Clearly she's in a different realm of awareness.
good one, nice. That sounded way better.
Maybe I can piss her off enough that she'll talk to me. Let's see.
Maybe you do.
Or I'll just give up on it. I don't know. Okay, that's about all unless you want to rate my YouTube channel.
What do you want me to rate?
Hold on, let me grab the page. I never actually saw. Okay, wait. Has Brittany Simon ever come back, or did Lavaloon bully her into a corner?
No, Brittany's chill. We just
Is she
don't have much
back?
to talk about all the time. What do you mean? Was
Oh,
she
okay.
ever gone?
So, okay, then from my perception, I saw the Lavaloon being like, you're evil or weird or whatever.
Hmm.
And then the next day, like she wrote on YouTube that she was like mourning, and then I saw some YouTube posts
Oh
that she was
no, I
like,
thought that didn't she have like a death in the family or something?
okay, I thought maybe it was that, probably. And
Yeah.
then I saw some other status update that said like I suck, and so I was just like, oh no, did Lavaloon like
There's
totally
I'm
kill her
extrapolating a
self-confidence?
lot, or I'm making a big assumption here, but Brittany doesn't seem like this isn't a slight on Lav at all, but Brittany doesn't seem like the kind of person that would get like fucked up by somebody like Lav. I think that
Okay,
Brittany, yeah, that would be my
no worries.
assumption, but yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. Okay, I think that was all I had to say there. All right, here is my YouTube channel. Tell me, so basically, I'm trying to follow the advice that I heard you say about uploading more. Um, that's all I gotta say about that. Tell
That's
me
all I
about
gotta say
my
about that.
uploading frequency. Um,
Damn, this is a small YouTube channel, man. I don't.
I know. Wait, it became bigger thanks to you.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's hard for me to evaluate.
Look at my vids and tell me how scuffed or cool they are. Just click on my videos.
Damn, this you got inconsistent times, 2-hour videos, 30-minute videos, 20-minute videos. I think
Yes, put me on
developing.
blast.
What?
Roast me.
Well, I don't. This isn't even my
You don't
job.
wanna roast
This is why I pay someone else to do this shit for me.
me. Yeah, fine.
I think the most important thing you could probably do for YouTube is like develop like a consistent set of content that you're uploading, so that when people are visiting your channel, if they go and look at other videos, they're going to see the same type of thing,
I know.
rather than just uploading everything from stream. So like have like YouTube content in mind when you're doing stream stuff. I think is probably
It's
good.
so hard to pick a lane. I can never pick a
Mhm.
lane in life. I'm always everywhere.
Do you still do OnlyFans or
I
Reddit?
do, but it's really like if like I turn the dial down on that and my focus is much more like Twitch stuff now.
I would keep the dial up on it and use. You always want to use other platforms to build other platforms. So if you can, although driving, I don't actually know. Driving content from not safe work platforms to safe work platforms actually might introduce a whole
And
bunch
I
of.
see this. I'll tell you my thought process here. It's because so I always really hated being on Twitter, but I was really good at spamming on Twitter,
Hmm.
and so that worked well for me, although it was really time consuming.
Hmm.
But promoting yourself online as a sex worker is like fucking mind numbing as fuck. Because like you're either spamming nudes into places where people don't want you. Like Reddit has recently tightened their restrictions. Like people's
Reddit
individual
has
subreddits.
gotten really. Oh, even individual subreddits now.
Individual subreddits now, a lot of them are request to post, and I'll request and they just won't get back to you. Or they'll just completely ban you because they don't want anybody
Any
who's even a
that.
sex worker. They
Yeah.
want like
It
women
used to
who are like,
be.
"Ah, please look at my naked body.
Yeah, it used to be initially. You could basically post, here's my shit. If you want, go buy it from here.
Yeah.
Then they changed it so you can't directly advertise, but you can have it in your profile. And now they've got it so that anybody that sells it at all isn't allowed to post in a lot of subreddits, which is pretty crazy.
Yes.
Although people still try to get around it, obviously. But yeah, it's like that illusion of like, we only want women that are just posting because they want to post their naked bodies on the internet for absolutely no other reason. It's like, okay. But
Yeah, it's the same as like when guys DM me and they're like, "Hey, do you want to trade?" It's like, does anybody in your life really want to
yeah, does that
trade?
work? Yeah.
Like, I've never even heard of a woman ever being like,
Do you
"I
want like the
traded with a guy
5,000th
last
dick
night."
pic? Like it's gonna look
Yeah,
different than 4,999 other ones. Yes, please.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let me show you everything I got for your cheesy dick pic. Um, yeah, fucking promoting as a sex worker sucks. So, I guess I'm just doing what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I need a sex worker destiny to give me advice.
It's really hard to make the jump from sex work to traditional content. That's really difficult, actually. Well, I was gonna say you could talk to Lav Luna about that because she's having the same problems. Because like when you've done
Uh,
sex work, there's a certain effort that you put in for a huge cash out, but to try to jump to doing like traditional media is really, really, really hard. And the payout is nowhere near as great as it was for what you were doing before.
yeah.
And that's a really difficult jump to make, you know?
Yeah, and she even has a huge TikTok. So, and it's like a lot of her videos have a lot of high views on TikTok. So,
Yeah, yeah. So it's difficult. People keep saying
yeah.
this, like Sasha Grey and Maya Malkova. First of all,
Those are legendary porn stars, you dumb
well,
fucks.
not only that, but I don't know if they really did successfully jump. Like Mia doesn't stream much or do much online content at all. No, and
I
it's
think Mia Malkova is still a porn star, and Sasha Grey streams on Twitch, and she gets about 2.5K viewers
does she
streaming
stream
games.
often? Does she stream all the time?
I don't know. I see her every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't think Mia has
Probably
a career doing
often.
anything right now. Not to talk shit on anybody. I'm not trying to talk shit on her.
Does she not do OnlyFans? I thought she still did it.
I thought she stopped because her current boyfriend doesn't like it.
Oh, I thought her current boyfriend was her photographer.
No, they broke up and she upgraded to a more.
Upgrade to a guy that made her just quit her job.
Yep. Pretty fucked up, but yep.
Oh man, that's the red pill.
Actually, unironically, yes, the ultra
Yeah.
red pill. Yes. Let me see the Sasha Graham. Curious. She streams an okay amount, I guess.
Yeah. Weekly or
Daily. She does like
bi-weekly?
2 or 3 hours a day on average. It's not like the worst.
Oh, that's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she always has like roughly the same amount of viewers whenever I see her, and I'm pretty sure she does just gaming, and she always wears like a shirt like that's up to here.
Yeah. Oh, hold
And-
on. I'm sorry. Mia Malkova didn't quit porn. It was even
Oh.
worse, actually. She quit
no.
doing only boy-girl scenes.
Wait, she quit doing.
Yeah,
Oh, she-
because
oh,
guys don't consider like girl on girl cheating or whatever. God, it's the most cringy, insecure shit in the world. Oh my god. But that's a whole other topic. But yeah, sorry. She still does.
There's another creator that we didn't mention yet, which is Adriana Chechik.
I don't know anything about her. I think I've heard the name before, but
Yeah, she's a hardcore porn star, and she gets I want to say like 3K-ish.
oh, okay, that's not too bad. So maybe there's a couple that have done it, but
It varies a lot, but yeah, she's pretty consistent. She games a lot, and yeah.
okay.
And then there's Amaranth, our favorite consistent queen.
True, but she's like a
she
warrior.
streams a fuck ton.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
The amount of work and everything she puts in is.
I don't know how she does it, man. Like you gotta just want to turn it off sometimes, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
But that booty stays popping.
Yep. True, true.
All right. I think that's about it. Anything else?
Not that
Oh,
I-
wait.
What?
Sorry.
Okay.
Here's my rant that I wrote about Lavloon.
Oh my god, you wrote a rant about her?
Because I was in the middle of the video and I was also trying to like make this document so I had proper shit to say to you without just forgetting
Jesus.
it all.
Okay.
But here, so I wrote, why doesn't Lav Looney talk to a fucking non-binary person? And then I said, the autogynephilia argument seems weird and transphobic as fuck.
Yeah,
Is
she.
that
I don't
not
know if she.
weird as fuck?
Yeah, I don't know if she knows the history of the AGP stuff. I don't know this and I can't prove it, but it feels to me like she got on some crazy, there must be some British fucking woman that she's getting all of her political takes from. I feel like that's gotta be the case because she,
J.K. Rowling.
no, it can't be JK. It's gotta be somebody else because I feel like whenever I talk to her, I hear screaming out of her. And I'm friends with Lev. I don't hate her or anything, but like I hear screaming out of her is like turf, 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 turf. Like it's all the most bog standard turf talking points I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, she harps on that HEP shit a ton. I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? This is so fucking weird. Like,
It's really interesting because like she's, I feel like that's why I wanted to talk to her is because she's so put together where she comes across so confidently and I don't see many vulnerabilities, but I saw a tiny vulnerability there when she said she feels hurt or whatever when people don't want to use she, her. When she was like, oh, it makes her sad.
yeah,
or
I know,
something.
but it's like such a weird fucking, it's like she's attacking or she has this weird thing of like, I get sad when I see non-binary women because we fought so hard for women's rights that it's like they're not respecting it or whatever. It's just like a really weird set of like, yeah I don't know. It feels like it feels like she got turned on to some like ultra like rabid turfy feminist person, and that's like where a lot of her takes come. That's what it feels like, but I mean I could be wrong. But
yeah, I would have a hard time, even if I believed the autogynephilia thing, it comes across so badly. It just makes you look like you
Yeah, like AGP is like, yeah, AGP is like the number one thing. Like as soon as you hear that, I'm like, okay, so like, do you want me to call you a TERF or like what? Like, are you just like openly IDing as one? But I don't know if she's aware of like all the baggage that particular term has. I truly have no idea. But
and don't you think like it would be much more worthwhile to use your platform if you want to talk about feminist issues, to talk about like stuff like, and you know what? To be fair, she did talk about this one time on stream or something where she mentioned female genital mutilation is a problem still in a lot of third world countries. So I think that's a good thing to talk about. And also the thing that happened in Iran. I don't know if you've talked about that at all, have you, on your stream?
which lots of things are happening in Iran.
Sorry, what?
Lots of things are happening in Iran. What? Which one now?
The protests about the girl that got killed for not wearing her hijab properly.
Oh, yikes. Not cool. We have not talked about it.
That's a no, you didn't talk about it.
We haven't talked about it, but that's not cool.
Okay. Yeah, it's fucked up. So I don't know. There's like a lot of issues that that's why feminism exists, is because there's actually like severe problems going on. So to talk about these like, little diddly stupid issues.
True. Although, I mean, like, depending on the area you exist in, like, the trans stuff is becoming, like, more and more of, like, a hot button topic. So, like, I can understand why it gets so much people's attentions.
Okay. And what about the nuclear war that's on our doorstep?
Who knows?
Or is it on our doorstep, or is that just for, like, North Korea's area?
Oh, I don't know what. North Korea's been up to some weird shit. And then the Russia shit is still lurking in the background, too. So, you know.
Yeah, so my roommate said that he heard... So the North Korea fired missiles. Do you know where the missiles landed?
One was over Japan and was another over South Korea recently. I don't know. There was a second one.
So they passed by, but they landed.
Okay.
Somewhere. That's me asking you.
Probably in the ocean. If we're not hearing about it, that would be my guess.
And then so America and I don't know who else shot missiles into the ocean around them.
Did we?
That's also what I heard.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. I have to look that up, but that's what I heard.
Okay.
So that's fucking shitty, though. Because now, like, all the fucking ocean creatures are getting blasted.
I don't think the yield of, like, radiation fallout is that bad from nuclear weapons, so they just get blown up a little bit.
Yeah, but don't you think there's, like, mechanical, physical damage?
Well, I mean, explosion? Like, they all eat each other and die and shit all the time anyway, so fuck them.
Cool, okay.
Are you fucking, like, a pescatarian or a vegan or some shit?
I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah, of course you are. So no one fucking cares, okay? Outside of you guys, all right? Animals eat themselves, kill themselves in horrific ways. You know, if they died to the bombs, they probably had a better death than if they would have been slowly tortured to death by some weird crustacean or whatever, anyway.
What about blowing up, like, the coral reef or whatever the fuck's down there?
Well, that's pretty sad. But you're a vegetarian, so you hate plants anyway, so don't coral... Aren't they kind of like plants?
I hate plants, yeah.
Yeah.
I like to chop them down.
True.
And eat their seed. What else? Oh... Russia. Yeah, they brought nuclear weapons to the border of Russia and Ukraine, something like that. They just like parked them at the border.
Did they? I haven't heard of that.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Might be true.
Yet to be confirmed.
Okay.
All right. What are you doing next?
There was another guy who was going to talk to me, but he went to bed, so fuck him.
Cool.
Probably just play some games, and then I think I go to TwitchCon tomorrow, so.
Oh, you're going to TwitchCon. You're going to hang outside the convention?
Yep, you know, see friends.
Cool stuff. Do you ever play StarCraft anymore?
Not really. Why?
No. I don't know. I started playing again, and I'm now in Silver League. Oh yeah.
Why would you play, of all the games to play, why would you play StarCraft?
Because I feel like it's nostalgic.
Did you ever used to play StarCraft?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
I was the top of Platinum League for several seasons.
Did you ever stream it?
Nope. I thought I was too shitty to stream because nobody streamed back in the day. It was 13 years ago, unless you were like a God King.
Gotcha. Well, damn, you could always, stream StarCraft. There you go. You found your new audience.
Yeah, I already do that.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Cool. I'm done.
Okay. Well, if anything else comes up, shoot me a message.
Sweet.
Cool.
Have a good night.
Yep. Have fun. Be
Bye.
careful. Bye.